Let me take you back to 2016. Guitar Hero Live was beginning to struggle with a fleeting player base due to unwarranted gameplay changes to its established formula and aggressive microtransactions. This eventually led to its unsurprising demise a year later. Sadly, on the other side of the pond, Rock Band 4 wasn't looking much better, with an incredibly troubled launch lacking franchise-standard features such as practice mode and scrapping Rock Band 3's Pro instruments and keys support. Around this time, classic Guitar Hero had started gaining a following on Twitch thanks to a resurgence of mods for Guitar Hero 3 on PC. Unfortunately, even this wasn't free from issues, as the PC port is infamous for frame drops and crashing. The community was striking out with every official piece of software out there, so why not go unofficial? On March 1st, 2017, Clone Hero, a much lighter and easily obtainable clone of Guitar Hero 3, had launched. Essentially, streamers in the community at large had found their way to Clone Hero, many transitioning from Rock Band 4 as well as Guitar Hero 3 PC. But there was another problem. We were running out of hardware. Back in the day, the meta for these Guitar Hero games on the computer were Xbox 360 guitars like the Les Paul and the Explorer, but they had started jumping up in price when demand had increased. For those with deep pockets, wired kiosk guitars were seen as the best possible option for use on PC due to their reliability, albeit these came with a hefty price tag. Eventually, a legend with probably far too much time on their hands realized that they could plug a very specific Wii Remote adapter into the classic controller plug on Wii guitars, resulting in a reliable wired PC guitar that had low latency without needing to bite the cost of a kiosk guitar. Thus, RAFnets became the new meta. Again, this resulted in the price of Wii guitars skyrocketing as demand began to soar. Eventually, an entire modding scene was formed, with plenty of Guitar Hero modders consistently selling Arduino-based, hardwired modded guitars that worked across several platforms. However, these modders kept finding themselves selling out of stock due to the extreme demand from the now blossoming 5-fret scene, which hadn't seen a new official Rock Band game since 2015, and a new official Guitar Hero game that wasn't Guitar Hero Live in over a decade. In the background, the team making up Red Octane, the original instrument manufacturers, had split ways from Activision and began working on their own projects. Forming as Cracked, they had flown under the radar of a lot of Guitar Hero enthusiasts, focusing primarily on solid third-party controllers for Nintendo Switch, iOS, and Android. Eventually, after peripheral manufacturer PDP threw their hat in the ring and displayed that there is indeed still a market for plastic guitars nearly 20 years later, Cracked had announced that they'd been cooking up something special. After 10 months of waiting and nearly 15 years since the last official 5-fret Guitar Hero controller was manufactured, is the Cracked Les Paul worth it? Now, before we get too far in, I did want to disclose something. While I did purchase this guitar with my own money, Cracked actually sent me this one for review. They reached out to me right after I bought this one. This is not a sponsored video or anything like that, but I did want to disclose that they did send me this guitar for free in exchange for this video. With that being said, let's unbox this thing. Opening up the box reveals the guitar neck, either mechanical or silicone, a manual as well as a sticker sheet describing exactly what the commands are for key jam mode if you want to play on Fortnite Festival, a strap or perhaps two straps depending on if you pre-ordered, the pre-order exclusive pin, a nice USB charging cable, and the body of the guitar itself. Now, depending on the guitar model you get, there are slight differences. Both feature Hall Effect strum bars and a Hall Effect whammy bar. However, the frets are quite a bit different between the two models, with the black tribal having silicone frets reminiscent of a stock Guitar Hero guitar from back in the day. Meanwhile, the Blueberry Burst Edition features custom mechanical frets, which are similar to what custom guitar builders like to put into their custom necks, as well as us in the hardcore. There are differences in the strum bar as well, with the standard black tribal strum bar being a normal clicky Guitar Hero strum bar. However, the Blueberry Burst strum bar has a haptic feedback motor inside of it, letting you feel every single note instead of hearing it. There is no click, it is entirely silent, and like I said before, they both are Hall Effect, meaning you'll never have to worry about replacing strum switches if they were to hypothetically break. Both models also feature 3 different means of connectivity. There is a wireless dongle hidden under the first pickup of the guitar, which provides low latency gameplay to whatever console you plug it into. There's a Bluetooth mode, which is great for the Nintendo Switch, and you can also play with the included USB-C cable or any USB-C cable you find around. Additionally, under the bridge, you will find a removable lithium-ion battery, which can be swapped out for AA's at any point. This is a fantastic quality of life improvement, but before getting into the actual look and feel of the guitar itself, what can you use it on? I first tried my Switch 1 with Rock Band Unplugged, then my Switch 2 with Fortnite Festival, both wireless, and they both worked perfectly fine. Moving back a couple generations, I tried Green Day Rock Band Plus on my PS3 with the Guitar and Legacy mode, and it worked absolutely flawlessly, then transitioning over to Guitar Hero 3, which once again worked perfectly, no complaints. Jumping back to modern day, Rock Band 4 and Fortnite Festival both worked flawlessly on the PlayStation 5. I did have to turn on Key Jam mode for Fortnite Festival, but it did work fine. Now, a lot of us play on the PC, so Windows is probably the most important test I can give it. After a little bit of remapping, Yarg worked absolutely fine, no complaints whatsoever. Clone Hero worked by default, I only needed to remap Whammy, that was it, everything else worked. Same story with World Tour Definitive Edition, although the Whammy didn't work by default and it had to be remapped, but that's not that big of a deal. Listen, the guitar just works. Sure, you may have to flip a couple switches or mess around a bit in the Cracked app, but pretty much no matter what you plug it into, it will work. And of course that extends past rhythm gaming. You can use this guitar as a standard Pro controller on something like the Nintendo Switch if you really want to, and you're a masochist. But the fun doesn't stop there, because if you buy an adapter that costs less than $20, you can even get this thing working on the Xbox 360. Yeah, you can play arguably the best versions of Guitar Hero 2 and Rock Band 3 Deluxe with this guitar and this adapter. As a matter of fact, I spent far too many hours playing Rock Band 3 Deluxe with this thing. The only single piece of software that I haven't gotten to work with this controller is Guitar Hero 3 PC. I guess GH3 on PC needs a specific type of input mode to work, but even then, Cracked are actively fixing it. So yeah, the guitar pretty much works no matter what you throw at it, but what is the experience of using it like? Now, as I said in the intro, the Black Tribal Edition was a review unit and was sent to me later. I got my Blueberry Burst pre-order first, which as a customer of this product, I'm pleased that the pre-orders are being fulfilled a little before the influencers are getting their units. That's a good thing. That means that the customers are coming first, which is exactly the kind of policy I like to look for in a company. That being said, naturally I have a little bit more experience with the Blueberry Burst than I do with the Black Tribal. However, both guitars feel pretty damn good. There are a couple minor things I would like to see tweaked in the Blueberry Burst Pro Edition. The haptic motor is really cool, but I do feel like it's a bit on the weak side. I have it cranked up to the maximum setting in my app just so that way I can feel something. And on top of that, I feel like the strum bar has a little bit too much travel. The Black Tribal one is perfect because I can physically hear exactly when I'm bottoming out my strum bar. And while you do trade that off for haptic feedback in the Blueberry Burst Edition, I still do wish that the strum bar had a little bit less travel to it and felt a little bit closer to how the old school Guitar Hero guitars felt with their switches underneath them. Now, a lot of people have also been complaining that their face paint has been scratching off of their Blueberry Burst Pro editions. Now, that actually hasn't happened to me. I don't know if I maybe got a later model with slightly better paint, but it looks basically just as good as the day I unboxed it, and I haven't had any issues whatsoever with it scraping off, but I figured I would mention it because that is a bit of a community-wide issue. The only major issue I would say I personally have with the guitar, and this extends to both the Blueberry Burst as well as the Black Tribal, is that the frets have far too much lacquer on them. This makes sliding and tapping quite uncomfortable if you're used to 3D printed frets. If you've ever played the Flames intro, you know how important it is to get your fingers on and off of the frets as quickly as possible without them sticking there too long. And with the Blueberry Burst Edition, I can do that, it's just a little uncomfortable because as my fingers sweat, they stick to the frets. I wish they took some of this lacquer and stuck it on the face paint so that way it wouldn't come off as easy for other people, because it really does feel like they used far too much on the frets. Perhaps I'm used to 3D printed frets. And speaking of, community members do have your back here if you're in a similar boat to me. I cannot wait for the 760 3D printed fret replacements, but it's still something I figured I would mention about this guitar. It's the only thing that really stops this from being a 10 out of 10 for me. I do like the idea, however, of being able to take off this neck and put on a completely different one. Cracked were taking pre-orders for something they refer to as the solo neck, which is a Rock Band style neck, and it's going to look cursed as hell on a Guitar Hero guitar, but this opens up the door to so many possibilities. Cracked, just throwing this out here, I'm sure the freaks that like Guitar Hero Live would be more than happy getting a proper 6-fret neck that doesn't suck. But even if that day never comes, I love the idea of being able to swap the 5-fret necks around. I was messing around with the Black Tribal with my mechanical frets, and it's a really cool combination. And the silicone frets on the Blueberry Burst guitar is about as quiet of a Guitar Hero setup as you can get, so that's a great option too. I do wish there was an online guitar builder on Crack's website so you can pick and choose exactly what parts you would like for your own custom guitar, but hey, maybe that's in the works. So all in all, would I recommend purchasing a cracked Les Paul? Either model, I would say absolutely. If you're coming from the standpoint of you haven't played Guitar Hero in a while and you want to buy a new guitar, or you've only played on stock silicone guitars from 20 years ago and you want something a little newer, I would say definitely pick up a black tribal. If you're more hardcore, the Blueberry Burst is a fantastic option. Now, what if you own one of these? This is a Riffmaster. I've done a video about it. I'll put it in the card. If you own one of these, is it worth upgrading to a cracked guitar? My answer for that is yes. I still stand by that the Riffmaster is probably the best rock band guitar that I've ever used. However, it does have numerous issues. The over-reliance on the dongle, and my biggest one, the fact that it has a non-replaceable lithium-ion battery. When this guitar breaks, you will not be able to fix it unless you fully disassemble the guitar. That is not at all an issue with cracked guitars. Not only does it have that easily accessible battery compartment under the bridge with the lithium-ion battery that you can swap out for AA's, but you can also play it Bluetooth or wired. It doesn't rely on a dongle, and the dongle that is included is really damn good. So yes, if you own a Riffmaster, I would recommend upgrading to one of these guitars. Now, what if you own a custom guitar? That's where things get a little different. I don't see these guitars as a replacement for custom guitars. I see them fitting two completely different demographics. Fully custom guitars are cool, and I'm saying this as someone who has built my fair share of custom guitars in the past, but they can be a huge time and money sink, and not everyone wants to do that. Not everyone wants to tear apart 20-year-old plastic controllers. But anyone can buy one of these and shred right out of the box. Does a custom guitar give you more customization? Absolutely. My green guitar, for example, alone has a Retro Cult Mods board inside of it with 760 Creations frets and strum bars, and a whammy bar that's been yanked off of a third-party Wii guitar. That thing is a weird Frankenstein's monster hybrid, and that's exactly what I wanted it to be. I built that guitar to feel as perfect as possible. But I also spent way too many hours working on it. So yeah, these don't replace custom guitars, at least not in my opinion, but I do think that they fit a very, very important part of the market for people that don't want to spend a ton of time or money on custom guitars, if that makes any sense. But anyways, guys, let me know what you guys think if you have your cracked Les Pauls already. This has been DanRock. I hope you enjoyed. Peace out and take care.